Hey Adventures, so today is going to be another book review. This is going to be for Triss by Brian Jacques. This is one of their Redwall books. And I read this one in April, and apparently I never wrote it down for having read it in April, and so when we did our April wrap-up, I didn't talk about it at all. So this is kind of your first time hearing anything about this from me. But I've been reading and reviewing all of the Redwall books as I go through them, and this is the next one that came up, so I'm glad that I remembered that I had read it. So, let's see, I don't own this book physically, but I am currently reading another Redwall book. Let's see, can you see it better maybe this way? So, let's see, Triss, I did not format this review the same as I normally do. Anyways, the Redwall series is it's epic fantasy, it's anthropomorphic fantasy, meaning there are animals with human characteristics. And what else is there? It's adventure, it's a quest fantasy to some degree. Redwall kind of fits into a whole lot of genres. It's kind of middle grade, kind of YA, kind of adult, and at times too. It kind of defies genres in some ways, or classification in some places, but that's alright. So Triss is one of the books in the Redwall series, as I've already mentioned. As with all the Redwall books, Brian Jacques does a great job of telling a story. This is one that I basically had no memory of, other than that I'd read it in the past, and there were a couple things that I remembered as I came across them in the story. Really not very many at all. And so it was basically a brand new story for me. Before I get into the rest of my review here though, I'd just quickly like to say, if you're liking what you're seeing from an Erudite adventure, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. So Triss is just a solid Redwall book, as most of them are. I haven't read one that I just absolutely dislike yet. And I do actually really like Triss as a character. This is not my favorite of the Redwall books though, and I will get to more on that in a little bit. There is a slightly different approach taken to the writing of this book, or at least the last 2 or 3 or 4 chapters or something like that are done just slightly differently. And I appreciate the way that he decided to tell that last part of the story, and I think it worked really well, and it's always cool to see Brian Jacques branching out and trying different things with his writing. So the story starts with Triss as a slave and trying to make her escape. Of course she succeeds, or else the rest of the story couldn't happen. Eventually she makes it to Redwall, and as always we have several different storylines going on at the same time. Oftentimes the storylines that involve Redwall are either a vermin horde attacking Redwall, or else it's a mystery of some sort where they're trying to unravel a question that they need an answer to. In this instance, it's one of the mystery storylines that Redwall deals with, and which is, where is Brockhall, a place in Badger lore that has, and Redwall lore that has, and Mossflower lore that's important to a lot of things, but doesn't play much of a role anymore because it's been forgotten, but at one point it did. But we also get the adventure that Triss goes on, and then the adventure of Sagaxis and Beskharam, I believe were the characters' names. Sagaxis is a young restless badger, son of the current Badger Lord, and Scarum is his hare sidekick. As you often find, there's a badger and a hare that travel together. Usually I find the hares really fun, but in this instance, Scarum is probably the most infuriating creature I can remember in any of the Redwall books, and he actually refuses to grow even when character development is forced on him, and that's frustrating to me as a reader. I kind of understand why, and it's kind of nice to see, or interesting to see, a character who actually doesn't grow with their character development. And so there's some things about it that I don't mind, but then there's some that are just like, I move on. I'm tired of this. But the one thing I particularly loved about this book is how Jacques is able to reuse ideas, but do them in a different way. And in this instance, I specifically am talking about the adders. Adders aren't really a uncommon trope, I guess you could say, that are used in the Redwall books. There's several of them. Off the top of my head, Redwall has Asmodeus, and Doomwhite has Balis, and then Triss has another snake character. Both Asmodeus and Balis are great takes on this creature, on this monster that it actually is. And I believe that there are a few other examples too that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that we see snakes every once in a while, and we see the shrews have a very volatile reaction, or very negative reaction, I guess, however you want to say that, to the appearance of one of the adders. This one, though, it takes that same idea of a terrifying, monstrous snake and twists it in a way that allows it to be unique from the two mentioned above, but also in some ways more scary. It's not scarier because Asmodeus and Balis both have their things about them that are terrifying and different from each other, but this one again takes it and twists it so that it's scary in a different way. So that to me is always impressive to see that Brian Jacques is able to continually do that type of thing. As I mentioned, my biggest gripe is my frustration with Scarum in this book. Other than that, though, this is really an enjoyable Redwall book, and it's the fact that my frustration with Scarum takes the book down that much. I don't know what that says about the book exactly. I like the book, I just wish Scarum was a little bit different of a character. But as always, it's just absolutely wonderful to be back in Mossflower Country and just in this Redwall series, reading the Redwall series. So that is my review for Triss by Brian Jacques. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.